All right, welcome to Serenity Education Channel. Today we are going to specifically look at Database-Prelim for Free State, Gauteng, and then Mpumalanga if we have more time. Please, if you have not done so, don't forget to subscribe for me, those who have not done so. But those who have done so, thank you so much for your help and then support. Right, I'll move straight away to the Prep 2023, Prep 2025 rather. Specifically, I'm going to start from Free State question papers. So now, before that, let me check from those who have joined, whether you can see my screen. If you can see, you let me know in the comment section. Right, so Free State database. Focusing on question number 5. So now the question says we must open the 5 members database and follow the following instruction. Now 5.1, work in the TBL_1 and then apply the following changes to the design view of the table. So I am going to open the 5 members. And then I look at TBL 5_1. Now the question says we have to open it in design view. So you right click and choose design view. Now the first question, change the data type of the name field to a suitable data type. Now, this is the name field and it says long text. A name field cannot be long text. Remember, the long text is more than 255 characters, and then a name cannot be more than 255 characters. So an appropriate data type should be short text. 5.1.2, insert a new field called identity card as follows. The field must appear as the last field in the table. So the last field is this one, and then the name should be identity card. And then the field will store a picture of 5-card image in the datasheet view of the member called Anele. So now we need to change the data type from short text to OLE object. Remember, OLE object, which stands for Object Link Embedded. Now, this one is used to store images, multimedia, and other things. So the best one should be OLE object. Then the question says it must be able to store a picture for Anele. So the question did not say the field will store a picture of the 5-card image. So we have to go back to datasheet view. It will prompt you to save. And then we are going to store it for Anele. So this side, you right click and choose insert object. Whenever you are adding a picture or an object to OLE object, you right click and then you choose insert object. Then you pick create from file and then you browse for that image. So here you browse for that image, which is 5 card, and then okay. So by default, it will show package and other things. It won't show here. It will only display after you have created a form, then you see the actual image. But when you insert an image to a table, you will see it as package and other names. Right. Now we move to the next question. Create an input mask for the member code as follows. 2 compulsory letters, that's the first one, followed by the @ sign, followed by at least 3, but possibly 4. So I'm going to break this one down for you. I'll open Word and then display it before I go and put it in the database. Now, the first one says 3 compulsory letters. So remember yesterday we said a compulsory letter is represented by capital L. So 3 of them, so you put 3L. And it says, followed by @ symbol. So the @ symbol should be inside inverted comma. Don't just type @ because it is a character. Followed by at least 3, but possibly 4 digits. So at least 3, that means the 3 digits are compulsory, but possibly, because of this word here, possibly, it means the 4th one will be optional. So whenever you see that type of question, at least 3, but possibly 4, that means the 3 are compulsory, but the 4th one will be the optional. So it will be 3 digits, 3 zeros, and then the optional digit will be 9. So this should be the best input mask for that. So that should be the proper input mask. So we go back to design view. And then the question says we must create it for member code. You must click on the member code and then you see input mask. You type them there. 3L followed by @ symbol in inverted comma, followed by 3 zeros, and then lastly 9, which is the optional digit. Right. Let's move on to the next question, 5.1.4. Add bronze as the value list option to the membership status field and ensure it appears first in the list. So this is membership status. And now they have already created for us the lookup or combo box. So you go to lookup and then you see combo box with the value list already there. Now we need to add the other one, which is called bronze, and it should be the first one. So you must go to the very first one just after the inverted comma or before the inverted comma, and then you type it in inverted comma with bronze. And then you close the inverted comma. Each item you separate with semicolon or colon, depending on your number formatting. So like the way you see here, you see silver, platinum, and gold. But I know some of you are going to have first face problem. So if you know you struggle to type there, you can select just them and then you right click and say copy. You can copy it. Then you come and paste this same silver. And then you now put the inverted comma. Then you separate it. This silver will now be changed to bronze. So like if you struggle to type, then just copy and paste. and then you change the silver to bronze. That's all. So meaning the bronze should be the first one. Right. Then 5.2, open the QRY5_1. But before I go to the query, let me check if there's no question from anyone. Right. There's no question, so I will proceed. Now, open the query QRY5_1 based on the TBL table in design view. Modify the query to create a list. Now, whenever you're doing query, you must underline the keyword. A list of all males. So meaning we need only males with a platinum. Another criteria here. Status, born after 2019. So meaning there are about 3 criteria. Now, let's check it. I just click on no, but then in examination, just click on yes. You must save every work. So you right click and then choose design view. Now, the query to create a list of all male members with platinum status born after. So here, where do we find the male? It's under the gender, and then the status, and then the date of birth. But then you cannot just put the criteria. You must run it to check. How did they type the gender? Otherwise you're going to type male in full. So here, male represented by M and female represented by F. Then platinum, which is in full, and then the date of birth should be after 2019. So you put a criteria for gender to be M, and then the criteria for membership status, which is platinum. Now, you can say star PLA star because platinum contains PLA, the first 3 letters, just like the way we were dealing with the query, other queries, and also dealing with the count ifs, the criteria. Make use of the wild card, please. Now, if the word is platinum, just pick the first 3 words, PLA, put an inverted comma before, oh no, not inverted comma, sorry, asterisk. It means it contains. So when you put asterisk before and after, it means this one means contains PLA. So now, among all of them, the one that contains PLA is what? Platinum. So you put that one, and then the date of birth should be after 2019. Now, very important, after means greater than. Now, 2019, the very first date for 2019 is 1st of January 2019. And then the last date of 2019 will be the 31st of December 2019. So here, the criteria should be greater than the last date because they say after 31/12/2019. So this should be the right date. So greater than 31st December 2019. Type the date in the basic format. That is the day / the month / the year. And now let's try and run it and see. It gives me wrong answers here. So let's check. PLA and the date. Yeah, the problem is the date. Sometimes it will give you problem. If it gives you problem, you must check. Greater than 31st December 2019. Now, the date, if it doesn't give, that means you must put hashtag. Some office versions like 2019 or 2029. Office 2019 and then Office 365. It will come on its own. So the hashtag should be there. There we go. So here the problem was the hashtag, but other versions, the hashtag will be there automatically. So if it doesn't show, just put the hashtag over there. Right, that's that query. Now, open the query 5.2. Display only the records where volunteers indicated that they know about taking care of the animals. Insert a calculated field called hours work to calculate the hours. Now here, very important, we are going to calculate hours, and then we will also put a criteria. So let's look at that. The question says 5.2, that's this one. You right click and choose design view. Now, like I always say, you don't know how it looks like, so you must run to see. Now, the first question says, the volunteers indicated that they know about taking care. So that's the knowledge part. So there, indicated meaning yes. Those that did not indicate meaning no. So indicated is the tick, which is yes. So here under the knowledge, you say yes. Now run again and check. So that is it. Right. After that, we are going to do calculations. Calculations, you go to empty space, you right click and choose build. Now, we are going to calculate the hours between the time out and the time in. Time out and time in. Then I'm going to show you the basic calculation. Sometimes you can see those functions there. Let's see whether you see hours. So there's hour there. So we can use hour function, or we can also do it in the basic mathematical calculation. Now, so we can just say hour, then you double click on time out. Don't forget to close the bracket, minus hour. You double click on time in, and then you close your bracket. So when you subtract the hour of the time out or the time in from the hour of the time out, you are going to get the number of hours. Now let's run and see. We get our answers. Remember, from 10 up until this, we get 13. Right. Now, it says EXPR1 instead of the calculated field name. The question said the calculated field name should be called hours work. So we have to go and change it. And that's the EXPR1. We change it to hours work. Do not delete the column. So here we type hours work. And then we run again to see. So here we have the hours work, and these are the hours. Right. Alternatively, we could have answered this. You right click, build. Now, to calculate the time or the hours, you put open bracket, time out, minus time in, then you close bracket. So time out minus time in. It will give you days. Now, how many hours per day? We have 24 hours. So you say times 24. So when you have the time out minus the time in, don't forget to put them into bracket because of the board math. Then you multiply by 24, and that one will give you the hours. So like this, time out minus time in times 24 is going to give you hours. Then you click OK. So here we got the same answer. So you can use the hours work or you can use the normal arithmetic calculation. So whichever one that you want to use whenever you are doing the time calculations. Now, so here, instead of EXPR1, we type again the hours work. So each of them will work. Now, in case, let's say they ask you to calculate the minutes, then after this 24, then you're going to say times 60 because there are 60 minutes per hour. So if they are talking about minutes, you're going to have it like that. Good. So basically, that is how we do this kind of calculation. So watch out for some of these questions. They can change it in different formats. Now, 5.4, create a report to look like this. Now, I don't see form. Here, these people, they did not ask questions regarding form. Now, there's a report on the screen that you need to create. Now, let's identify some of these things. We have here the date of birth, and we have the name, and then there's membership status. So name, membership status, date of birth, and fee. Then the names will be there, and then there's medals. So you can see that they have arranged them in certain formats. So each medal is there. Right. So now and then there's also a calculation. So you got to identify each of them. So now let's start with the creation. So you go to create. Whenever you are creating a report, we use report wizard, just like creating a form. Use form wizard or report wizard. Now, they say it's based on TBL 5_1. So you select TBL 5_1 and check the fields that are there. We have the name, we have the membership status, date of birth, and then we have the member fee. So these are the four of them. And then this medal here, we will check whether there's medals also. We have to also check them as well. Right. So first of all, let's check whether there's medals. There are no medals, so that one is just an image. So the first one is name. You double click on it. The second one is membership status. The third one is DOB. The fourth one is member fee. And then you go to the next one. Now, let's see whether there was any grouping. There was no grouping. There was no grouping. And then the sorting, we have to check also. We have the branding. We have Abigail, Anele, Joshua. So we will check how it was sorted. We have silver, platinum, and then all these. And then you must check the date. So mostly you must check 2020, 2019, 2022, and that. So it doesn't have a specific format like this one. And don't forget the name. You can see that the name has something around it. Even though it is faint, there's a border around the name. Now, here is very important. You can see the headings are not here, so you cannot use tabular. So this one is columnar, and it's not justified. So it's columnar. You must check. This is the label, and these are the fields. and they didn't specify. I think this is not landscape, it's portrait. And the name of the report is RPT5_3. So you type it here, RPT5_3. Then you click on modify because you are not done. But you can check also if they are all showing. You can see here, Jacob, Molefe, that, Joshua, and others. So design view, and then you change them now. The question didn't give you a clue whether it is only this. So we will check whether it's only this that needs to be checked. After we are done with the total amount, then we will be able to see. You can see that the total amount is only this one, which is 1,000 plus 900, which is 1,009 plus 2,000, and then also plus 250, meaning something was done, only this one that they are looking for. Right. Now, let's go back to design view. Don't forget the title is RPT. So let's use the meta image here. The meta image was also placed this side. So we have to insert the meta image. Let's first check if it is not background. So let's check the background image. You have to always check because this one didn't give you the steps. So let's check the background image, which is meta. Right now, so it was not a background image. There was an image inserted. For each, there's an image inserted next to it. So meaning there was a medal and then an image also inserted. So we have to check that one. It is not background image. We have to undo, meaning we need to put also a box or text box from the controls. And then that text box should have medal, and then the medal is also inserted inside it. So let's change this unbound. We have to change this one here, meaning it must contain something which is an image. This one must contain an image. So now this text box needs to change because there should be an image inserted. But before we even go there, because they inserted an image and then the label is, we can put this one here, and this label can be kept in the form header. Right, so let's put a label on top here to check. Which is medals. And then each of them, there should be next to each text Then we also put the names with a box around it. So we must go to the border, and then we choose maybe 3PT. There's a border around it for the names. So now we have this is where we need to change this one. Under each of them is not a text box. It's an OLE object. So this one, the data type cannot be just a box. It should be an OLE object. Now, we check whether there's any control source with it. Which let's check the question again. It says, use the medals image. Now we cannot put this one, so let's put medal than image here. Just below it. There we go. So the heading must be medals, and then the medal image must be there. So here we don't need to put the text box. It's only the medals heading, and then we put the image also next to each of them. So here the image was not on the header, but the image must be next to each of them. Now, there's a criteria here. Not all of them are having that. Because if we do the calculation, let's see. How do we do the calculation? Is the sum, the total amount equals to that. That means they added all of them. Now, we are going to have calculation below, which should be in the report footer. Good. So we must put a calculation here, whereby we pick a text box, and then we draw it. Then you right click, and then we choose build event expression builder. Now, which should be the sum of because it's the total amount. So the sum of all the membership fees, and then you close it. Like I said yesterday, you select and you copy. You come and put it here. You put equal sign, and then you paste, Control V. Then the text box should be total amount. You can stretch it, and then you type total amount. Now, let's see the total amount, which is for all of them is here, and it's 7,000. 7,000. So meaning it shouldn't be for all of them. It should only be for those specific ones that are there. Those that are shown here, that is Brendan, Abigail, and we can see that it's only platinum and silver. Only platinum and silver. But do we have other silvers there? And we have so many platinum. We like to see the criteria that they use. 200,000. And then also membership fee of 900. Then if you look at the date also, 2019 and then 2020. But then let's check here. We have only 2019 and 2020. So meaning we don't need 2022. So we need only 2019 and 2020. So meaning they pick the date of birth, which is 2019 and 2020. These questions are higher order questions. That is why it's 10 marks. So we must check the criteria they use. They use, this is 2019, 2022. So we can say it's only from 2019 up until 2022. From this date of birth should be only from 2019 up until 2022. So we don't need other dates that are above that. So we have to also extract them, or maybe we filter the rest from it. Now, in order for you to do that, even if you pick the sorting and then maybe the filter, when you sort and it picks only that one, it's going to pick the rest from it. And then if you also filter them, it's going to also generate others. And then the format also here does not give access to that. It doesn't give access to that. And then there's no running sum also for that. So here you cannot also create a query in order for you to achieve that aspect. So that is a very high order question. So let's see what they did over there, whether they filtered or they apply some sort of sorting, because there was no grouping. Even if I add a group here with a date of birth, and then when you go to more, where it says with A on top, because this is date of birth, it doesn't have with A on top, then by the entire value, here you can customize it by, because it's a text here. So you cannot put 2019 or that, it won't work. And then also the sorting, if you sort also according to that, it does not give you those options. So basically, there were some properties that they use, which is basically maybe filter. So let's look at that. I'm going to also make it available. Let's check what was given there. That is the last question, with the question 5. The first mark is the creation, the field, columnar, like correct. The sum, currency. Yeah, we forgot the currency. Report group according to membership status. So meaning there was no sorting. That is the screenshot that you see there. It could have been the screenshot is just different. They wanted to do it as you see. So basically everything there, we did it. The logo was there. Report group according to membership status. So the group according to membership status. Let's see the screenshot there once again, because I saw membership status. If it's group, that's platinum. Okay, yeah. So platinum before silver. That means it's for all of them. This is just a portion of the screenshot. It is just a portion of the screenshot. So that one cannot be. So the grouping is only done on membership status. So let's take a look at that. But it still gives us the gold and others, platinum. So maybe they took some portion of it, the screenshot. And then if it is done like that, then with A on top or whatever that they did there, if it's platinum, P on top. Now it's also going to show silver first. So basically, the rubric does not what the question wanted here. We did the totals, we did the sum. The currency, that's the one that we did not do. To change this total to currency, this one here, you go to data, and then the format, you change it to currency. All right. So basically, this is what it's supposed to do. This is just a portion of it. It is just a portion of it. It's not the whole thing that you see on the screen. Right. Any other question? Okay, somebody said, why didn't I sort it in anything for sorting, like you left them in ascending order? Yeah, so the grouping, like I said here, the grouping, to group them, if you don't find group here, you can also search for it from here and say group. So it's going to give you sorting and grouping. Or it's a group and sort. And then you can now add group. Then you choose which field that you are grouping according to. Like this question, they says membership status. And then you run it to see. Right. So that's how this question was supposed to be treated. Right. Now let's move straight to the next province, which we are going to use Gauteng province, then followed by Mpumalanga province. So I'm going straight to question number 5. Five Olympics. Now, the first question, open the table 5_1 venues table. Choose the color of your choice and apply it to alternate rows so the table will be easier to read. So this is the 5 tables. Now, the alternate rows so that it will be easier to read. Like I said earlier, to pick alternate, you can just say format cells or cells. You can just say cell, and it's going to give you format cells. Like we saw yesterday, whereby they asked question under the column header. Here they are asking for alternate background colors. Now they say any color of our choice, so you can choose any color. Now this is the alternate one. Then the next question, align the capacity field to look like all other fields. So let's check, is the alignment. This is the capacity field. Now you can see it has been aligned to the right. All of them are on the left. If you select venue name, you can see the alignment is on the left, location on the left, event name on the left. Now, only capacity should also be left, not right. So you must choose left. Now, switch to design view, set the most appropriate field to the primary key. So let's go to the design view. But before you go to design view, now look here. Set the most appropriate field to primary key. What do we know about primary key? When we talk about primary key, it's a unique field. In other words, a field that cannot be left blank. So it should be unique and it shouldn't be left blank. And that is a primary key. So now, before you go to design, we check which one is unique. In other words, the words or the numbers are not repeating. If we check the status, you will see that existing is repeating. So status can never be a primary key. Now check the capacity. The numbers can be repeating. We have 2000 here. We have 1000, 1003. So you must check. Now, let's go to event type. We have the opening ceremony, ice hockey, preliminary rounds. There's ice hockey finals also, but they are not the same. Ice hockey preliminary rounds are the same, so they are repeating. So before you set it, check the field that are repeating, they cannot be. Now, location, we have Milan repeating. Now, when it comes to the venue names, San Siro, Milan Ice Park, all these, they are never repeating. So the best field to choose as the primary key will be the venue names. So when you have this type, if it's not having a code or a unique thing, just check before you can do that. Now we go to design view. So the venue name should be the primary key. You right click on it and choose primary key. So that is how primary key should be set. Right. Then we move to the next question. Change the format property of the capacity field so that the data will display like the image below. Now look at this. 800 seats. It says do not change the data or the data type. Now in the design view, change the format of this. They said the format. Now 800 seats, 30,500 and others. So we have to change the format. You must always check the keyword. That's the format property. And now, capacity, we click on capacity. When you run it, look at how it's going to display. Here's the capacity. Now, it has the seats next to it, like 8,000 seats and others. 30,500 seats. And they said, don't change the data type. It should be number already. Now you go to format, and then you see end. Written there, there are different formats that you can see. The currency or others. Or alternatively, you can just modify it. So it sits. There we go. So anytime, now let's check the question again. They gave a screenshot. So 8,000 followed by space and then followed by seats. So it is similar to the what we call the concatenation in spreadsheet. So let's say if you have some words, there are numbers already, and then the numbers were this 8,000. Now you are adding something to it. So you say and. So the 8,000 others are there. So the property, you are adding seat to it. So you say and. And then here, after the 8,000, there's a space. So and, then space, seats. So you can have, that means you are adding seats to those numbers. And that is why they say don't change the property. That's how you do this type of question. You can get questions like that. Maybe if they are, I can show you a typical example. Like maybe we are having maybe distance. And then the distance is number. Then they are telling you to have the unit attached to it. So if it's number and maybe integer, and then you put and meter, which is M. So meaning it to add M to it. So when I type a number, let's say 50, then it come with 50 meters. So that's how we add the unit and other things to a field. So take note of that. Right. Any question about that? Yeah, if there's no question, I will move on to the next one. Now, 5.1.5, change the properties of the status field so that it resembles the image below when you capture the data. This is similar to the question paper that we saw earlier on in our discussion. This question paper that we saw earlier in our discussion, just like the Northwest question paper. Now, they have the options like existing, new, and under construction. Use the TBL venues table, and then the list width must be 4 centimeters. So meaning this is a combo box or lookup wizard. And we are adding to the status. So this is the status. You can go to lookup, and then you change the display control from text box to combo box. And then because the question says we must pick it from a table, so the row source type should be table or query, and then the row source, we pick the name of the table. Now, according to the question, the table should be TBL venues status. Now, they also talk about the width. The list width must be 4 centimeters. You will see the list width here. Watch out for these other properties, like the column bound, the column count, how many columns, the column heads must be there, the width, and add check out all these. Now here, it says the list width should be 4. So we change from auto to what? 4. And then you run it. So when you go to the status, it gives you the list. But now, the list is only having existing and new. But according to the screenshot, the list has existing, new, and then under construction. So we need to go to the table. We need to go to the table, TBL venues. Here is it. We have to double click and open the table and add under construction. So always when you are done, you must test it under constructions. Then you can now save this one. Now we go back here. Yeah, so under construction will be added to it. So in most of the time, if there are other options added to it, go and check from the table. If they are not there, add it before you put your combo box. Right, that's all for 5.1.5 for 5 marks. Then we go to the form. Open the form 5_2. Make sure that the image in your examination folder appears in the sports icon field. So let's go and check that one. This is 5_4. You right click and choose design view. Now the question says the image must appear in the sports icon field for the first record. So here, how are you going to make sure the image appears for the first record? Remember, this one is from, you might check, this one is based on TBL events. So we must make sure that TBL events, we have that image, which is the sports icon. I think it's already added. The sports icon is added, but it says 0. That means nothing was added there. This one has 1, and that one does not have. So when you double click on this, the first record do not have an image. These ones are having. So let's go and check the properties with a sports icon. Now, and it's an image, display as image or icon, and it's visible. Now, we check other properties here, the data. Now, everything is shown here except that one which was not showing. And then the data is there. It's enabled and it's locked. No, it's not locked. So the formatting has everything done properly. Now, the first one do not have. So this first one must have manage attachments. You must add, and then we pick that sports icon. So for 5, and then you add it. So you must save all. No, okay. So now it's added to the first one, the second. So basically it was not there, but then you needed to first of all check whether it's visible. Now it is visible for every record, only that one. That means you needed to add it. Right, and you could have added it also in the event. Now, the next question, set the background color of the detail section to light green. This is the detail section, this is the form header, and that side is form footer. So they want the detail section to light green. You right click, and then you see fill or back color. Then you pick light green color. These are all light green colors. If it is not lighter, you can just change it. Now, the next one, replace the text FRM5_2 in the header with the word event. So you replace this one and type event. You must select it and then you type event. And then make sure that the date field can only accept from the 4th of February 2026 to the 2nd of February 2026. Can only accept. That means validation rule. So you can also add validation rule in the form. Now, they say we are adding it to the date field. So here is the date field, not this one. This is the label. This is the field. Now, when you select it, if the properties are not there, you just right click and choose properties. Then you see data. That is where you see validation rule. You can also see default value. You can also find input mask and others. So here we are going to add validation rule. And then the question says the validation rule should be from a certain date to another date. You can click on this, the 3 dots, and you type your rule here. Or you can just type your rule straightforward here, which is between. Now the first date is 4th February 2026. So you say 04/02/2026 space, and the last date is 22nd February 2026, 22/04/02. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Input mask of validation between 04/February is 02/2026 and 22/02/2026. So between the first date and the last date, then it will bring the hashtag automatically there. And validation text, you type the date should be from you can always get it from the question paper. Here, the date should be from this up to that one. So you can get it from the question paper. Right. The next question that we are done with the form. So watch out for this type of questions with the validation rule, input mask, and others, and as well as performing calculations. They can also ask you to insert action buttons. Action button is this one. You click on this button and then you draw it, whether find next or record operation like duplicate or form operation like close form. They can have closed form also. So you must watch out for some of these things. There can also be conditional formatting. There can be conditional formatting also. So watch out for all these. Right. Now the next question about queries. Create a query called QRY5_3 based on the TBL officials. Display only the last name and first name of all the referees. So whenever you are creating a query, we go to create and then we choose query design. Now the question says the query should be based on TBL officials. So you double click on TBL officials. Only the last name and first name. You double click on last name and then first name. Sometimes they will ask you to also sort by either last name or first name. Now I want to show you something. Now you can see that the last name is first and first name is second. They can ask you to sort according to first name, then by last name. And if you have that question, even though the last name is second, then you must swap their position and say first name here and then last name this side. Then you can now choose your sorting. So take note of that. If they say sort according to first name, then by last name, you must swap their position, then you put the sorting over there. Right. Now, so this question wanted you to just create it and then display the records, all the referees. So when you go there, you see all the referees and then their names. Now, but then let's check the table TBL officials. Let's check whether there are other officials here. Yes, there's a row that have referee and then the judge and others. So we got to check the query again. So here we needed the last name and then the first name. And then we need the row. So the row has all other rows, but the question wants us to pick the referee. So it will be the criteria star REF star. Like I always tell you, pick the first three letters. You put the asterisk before and asterisk after. So now it shows us only the referee, but we are not supposed to display the row. So we need to go back and then untick so that we have the two records. And then you save it. You right click and say save. Then you put a QRY underscore 52. Right. 5.4. You open the query 5_4 and then you change it to display like this. This is the aggregate function. Why is it aggregate function? Check here. We have the country and then we have this keyword here, sum of. Because of the sum of, that means the group and then they have the summary and then you do the calculation. So when you see the sum of, count of, AVG of, then it's aggregate function. So 5_4 in design view. And the first column should be country. So we need to change the first column to country. And then the second column should be Olympics medals won. This sum of is not part of the field name. The field name comes after that function with the of. So that one should be the Olympics medals won, this one. Then for us to get the sum of, you must activate these totals. So you click on totals, then you see the totals row. Then this group by, because of the sum of, we change from group by to sum. And then we can now run it. So that should be the right answer, starting from United States. So we can see also here, a pick from the highest to the smallest. So we need to sort according to that sum of. We sort in descending order. That means from biggest to smallest. Now the Netherlands is the first one and the United States second one. Right, so you must, the screenshot like this, try to solve them step by step, identify what is missing, and then you figure out and then you solve that question. So now you can see here, sum of Olympic medals won because of the aggregate function. Now, let me check if there's no question. All right, somebody says, can I show them the list with the lookup wizard? So I believe you are referring to this list. I believe you are referring to this list in the lookup wizard. Okay, let's check again. Let's say we have the status. Let me pick status 1. Now lookup wizard, you change the short text to lookup wizard. Now, whenever you are picking from table, we choose this one. I will type in the values that I want, and then you go to next. No, sorry, because we are picking from table, you don't choose I will type in the values that I want. You choose I want the lookup field to get the values from another table, this one. This one is used as an option if you want to type the values yourself. So we pick the first option and next. Then you select the table, which is TBL venue status, and then go to next. And then you double click on the status. And then you go to next, and then you finish. So if that option is not here, then you need to go and add it from that side. So it's going to give us the same answer. You can see status 1 with the 3 options. So that's how we do with the lookup wizard. I think I answered your question. Right. We move straight to the next question, which is 5.5. Open the query 5_5. Now, insert a calculated field called age started to determine the age of the official on the date that they started working as an official. So here we need to calculate the age. That's 5_5. You right click and choose design view. Now the question says you must calculate the age. So you right click in an empty space and then you choose build. Like the other question was about hours, this one is age calculation. Now, whenever you are dealing with age, there are several ways. You can use the year function. Now, let's check first. We have the date of birth. Now, the question says the age of the official on the date that they started working as an official. So we have the date of birth and then the date that they started working. Now, we have the experience years, but we do not have the date that they started working. So we can use, let's say, their date of birth. Otherwise, let's see TBL officials again. We have only one date here. So maybe they are referring to the date of birth. Because if you say the date that they started working, then there's no date started working. It's just date of birth. So I'm sure there might be some errata. There's no date started working here. So they are referring to the date of birth. So let's use that one to calculate the age. You right click, build, and to calculate the age, you can use the year function. So you can use the year function of the function called today, but we don't have today here because you want to start typing today, it won't give you. And then when you start typing something like now, then now is there. So the year of now, and then you close bracket. Don't forget to close your other bracket also. So the year into bracket now minus the year of the date of birth, this one. Then you close bracket and okay. So we got the age. Now, we can now change this one to we can now change it to age started. Right. So that is when you are comparing with the age. Now, I have seen something here. Maybe I didn't check properly. We have the experience years. So you can see here, experience years. This person has experience years for 15 years. And then the date of birth is given to you there. So if this one is giving us 45 years, so then they want the age started, the age that they started. So if with the now, if it's 1980, and they have experience on 15 years, because they did not give the preambles. This question didn't give the preambles on the date they started working, but there was no date they started working. So now, if you were here, you're going to subtract this one, maybe the date that they were born. But let's confirm from the rubric, maybe sometimes there can be an errata because this question did not specify. They did not specify that is 5 point. That is 5 point. Yeah, so you see, they were using the same way. So meaning the question had a problem. Is the age. Then after that, they subtracted the experience years. So they are only referring to the age, like what I just said. After you calculate the age, then you subtract the experience years. So here they are referring to the age. They are referring to the age. So build after this, then they subtracted the experience years. After this, then they subtract the experience years minus the experience years from it. like the one that I just started. So the year of this one minus experience years. Good. So after everything that they have calculated, then they put the experience years. Don't forget to put your brackets properly. And then okay. So they subtracted your age from the experience years. So that's how they got this question. Right. Now, you saw that they did it in two ways. I want to show you how to calculate another age. You right click, build. Now you can calculate the age if you don't want to use the year function. You can also calculate the age by using now. You close bracket minus the date of birth given to you. Don't forget to put everything in inverted or bracket. Divide by 365.25. Comma 25. So it gives you this. And then after that, you subtract that one from there. Don't forget to always close your brackets. So you can also calculate the year like that. Here, we don't have the year frec. So you cannot use the year frec minus the experience. So you can use the year function whenever they are asking for the date or any of those. Or there are sometimes you can also use a function called maybe using the day of that, and then you do the calculation. So there are so many ways of answering those questions. Right. Then we move on to the next question, which is the report. So here, like when you're calculating age and other things, solve them step by step, like this situation, and then you'll be able to answer all the questions. Now, the report was created, and then they said group the report. So this is the report. You right click and choose design view. Now there's group the report. You go to add group according to the question, group according to country field, group on country, and add a calculation in the group footer to determine how many athletes are there per country. Your formula should display the country name and the total for the specific country. So you go to more, and then with no totals, you select maybe the country and then the count values here in the group footer. Now, this grouping here, so let's look at it. It shows here. Then they want it to show the country name. Like here is 2, and then the total, like this one is Canada, and then the totals, like that. So you must go to the grouping again, and then you will see here, by entire value, there's a group option that you need to choose. Maybe by entire value, or maybe the first 2 characters. So now, this one here, that's it, with A on top or Z on top. So you have to pick by the number of characters. And after that, you put the country name here. You can put it as a country name, as a field. The label will not display. You can put a country also there. Or alternatively, you can just copy this one and paste this country. Copy and paste here. So Belgium, Canada. So the country name must be there before the totals. So you can do copy and paste from the field, then you attach it to your calculation. Right. So that's how you're supposed to do this type of questions, and then you are done. So if there's a question you can ask before we proceed to the last database questions, which is from Mpumalanga. And tomorrow we are going to focus on Western Cape and then Limpopo questions. So let's move straight to Mpumalanga question papers. Specifically question 5. So we must open the 5-horse crew. And then according to the question, insert a primary key on the most appropriate field. And then the data should be this one. You right click and then you choose design view. Like I always say, run it to see which one is unique field. Now here is easier. The unique field will be the ID because it doesn't repeat itself. So you right click and choose primary key. And then the next one, set the field size of the cell name to 25. So you go to cell name, the field size, you change it to 25. The third question, change the property of the grade field so that the user can only select an item from the existing list of the values. Now there's an existing list of the values. So the grade field is number. Now when you go to lookup, it's a combo box. And now the row source type, but they have typed the values here, 10, 11, 12. So the row source type cannot be a table, but it should be value list. Because they type, if it's a table, it must be picked from another table. Now, 5.1.4. Each learner must sell at least one ticket. Change the properties of the number of tickets field as follows. Make sure that the number of tickets field will always have a value. So now let's go and check the number of tickets from the general properties. Now it says number. Make sure that it must always have a value. That means we have to choose required property and then we say yes. Must always have, that means required yes. Then the next one, the dialog box must appear if no ticket was sold. So meaning here, please sell ticket. The dialog box. Meaning this one is what we call a conditional formatting. This is also a conditional formatting. So because there's a page for the conditional formatting, sorry for conditional formatting, it's a validation rule. Why validation rule? Because they have given the validation text. Please sell tickets. So meaning validation rule should be greater than 0. There must be a value. And then the validation text should be please sell a ticket. So meaning this question, the first part, make sure that the number of ticket field will have a value. That means from 0 or more. So it should be also required. So the number of tickets should have a value and it should be more than 1. So meaning if I put 0 here, it's going to give me this message, please sell a ticket. Right. The next question. Change the properties of the total rate field to display South African currency. Total rate, let's check here. It's showing error. So we need to change it to South Africa. So the format must be changed to now the currency, which is South African currency. Right. The next question. Modify the form based on the table data in design view. Insert the 5 logo picture anywhere in the form header. So you right click and choose design view. Now we say we must insert the 4 logo or the 5 picture inside here. So we can pick a logo or the image and then we draw it on the header. Now, like I said, we need to make them make sure that they are filled in. Let's check again. And then set the height to be 2.5 as well as the width. So you right click on the picture and choose properties. Go to the format, you see the height, 2.5, and then the width, also 2.5. and 2.5, and then we must always choose this one to stretch, to fill in. Right? It seems it's giving you some other values also here, 0.01 and others. So it should be filled in, which is stretch, not zoom. And then you change it. Right. Change the heading in the form header to fundraising. So this is the form header. You change the heading to fundraising. And change the background color of the form header to blue. This is the form header. So you right click and choose fill or back color, and then you pick blue color. Now, when the form is viewed in the form view, an error message is displayed in the text box under the heading Total Amount Raised by All Learners. Make the necessary corrections in design view so that the total is correctly calculated and displayed as currency. This total here, it says count into bracket totals. Now let's go and check. It gives an error. So the question is we must do the proper calculations. It's counting the total. What kind of total is that? I think it's the total raise. So the problem is the total, which should be total raise. So the function name was wrong, or the field name, yes. The total raise. Now, after this, they said we must sum of the total raise. So here, we might change the function also to sum. The sum of the total raise. And then we might change to currency. So when you click on it, go to the format. It shouldn't be standard. Then it should be currency. There we go. So basically, this is what the question requires us to do. And then change the layout of the details section to stack layout. Like I always say, you must always, this is the details section. Now, when you click on it, whatever you want to do here, you must get them from the property sheet. It's visible with the height, and then it also has everything here with the format, forcing. Now, when you go to all, you will find the visibility, the effect, that's this one. And then if you don't find what the question wanted to the properties, which is not here. Now, we needed to change the layout of it. So now when you go to the form design and then mostly the layout, you'll find them under the form design, or you can also find them under the format or the arrange. Now the arrange doesn't give us the proper layout. Like the question says, should be stack layout. Let's check the question again. Change the layout of the details section of the form to stack layout. And here is the details. And then you don't see the layout here. So this is a question is only showing the header and then the filling and other properties. Now you don't see, because this is the details section and it doesn't give you the right properties. So I'll have to refer because I don't know where they got that layout from. Because the layout is not part of the properties. Mostly when you are creating it. When you are creating, there is a layout option. So let's check the layout option. They will say stack. Now, how do we pick the layout option of that? So we'll see what the question wanted us here, the sum of the total raise, stack arrangement. So this is just arrangement. Stack arrangement is layout. So this is the details section. Right, let's look at the last question and we'll come back to that. Insert your name and surname in the footer. So here is the form footer, and then you go to the labels from the form design, and then you choose the label. And then you draw it, then you can type your name and surname. Right, so that's how we add that part. Now, the layout option, I'll check, then I'll get back to because the themes, we have the themes from the format and layer. But all that I know is whenever you are creating, because we have here the splitting orientation, like the data sheet on top. I know those one, but not the details section here. And that's the label. But the moment you pick the details, the question wants the details section. If you go to the footer also, you'll see them there. I know that whenever you are creating, let's check the step one. When you are creating a form, like the form wizard, and then the layout here, we have the tabular, the data sheet, and then the justify. Those are the basic layout that are there that you can pick. Now, this one is that the details should be stacked. I think it's the arrangement, how it was arranged. But I don't know how the stack should be like. So if anybody knows how the stack options is done, you can put it in the comment section, then we will check. Right. Other than that, we proceed because just the arrangement that they wanted us to do, the actual layout is not here. Now, the next question. The next question talks about the queries. Now create a new query, QRY5 underscore 3. The query must contain only the records of the grade 12 learners who sold 5 or more tickets. So 5.3, we have to create it. It's not here. We go to create, query design. Now the question says it should be based on the data table. You double click on it. And it says it must contain only the records of grade 12 learners who sold 5 or more tickets. Display only the surname, name, grade, and number of tickets. So we need a surname, name, grade, and then number of tickets. Then the question says the grade 12 learners. So meaning the grade should be 12, the criteria. And who sold 5 or more tickets. That means the number of tickets should be greater than or equals to 5. So grade 12, that sold more or equals to 5. Right. Then the next question, 5_4. Display all the students starting with the male who will not enroll to further their studies. Now, 5_4. Now, it says all students starting with the males. That means we are using male student. So we run and see. We need the gender to be male. Starting with the male, that means we are going to sort in descending order because of the keyword starting with the males, meaning it should be sorted in descending order, males first before female. And we know M comes before F. Who will not enroll for further studies? Now let's run and see. Further studies, those who do not enroll are the empty spaces. Now, whenever you are dealing with the empty spaces, we use null as a criteria. NULL. That means empty. So the males followed by females and then the empty spaces. So that's how we have to do to achieve this result. Then the next question, 5.5. There's a calculation there. The president of the horse, I think there's something here in the horse therapy. Let's check whether there's something for horse therapy. Further studies, end of date of the therapy, the horse name. Okay, I think this is all for the horse. That's why it's 2 marks. So we don't need to do more than what is required. Now, these calculations here, they have decided to donate an amount equal to 25% of each student's car wash, multiplied by half of the number of tickets sold. So now the calculation should be called donations. 5_5. And the calculations name should be donations. So we right click and choose build. Now, what's the criteria here? They have decided to donate an amount equals to 25% of each student's car wash. So 25% of the car wash, which will be 25 divided by 100 times the car wash. Now you don't see the car wash here. You must go and find it from the table. You see, this is the table for database. the table, and this is based on TBL data. So you double click on the data, and you see car wash, you double click on it. So if you don't find the field there, just go and click on the database, the table, and then the right table. You must check it from here. Then the question says, multiply by half of the number of tickets. So times half, which is 0.5 or 1 divided by 2 times the number of tickets. Then you click OK. You run it. This is what we are supposed to get. Now, we change this name to donations. You change it to donations. That's what the question says. The new name should be donation, not donations. Accuracy is very important. All right. Ensure that the amount are displayed in South African rand. So you click on this amount, you right click and choose properties. Then the format, you change it to currency. Now, the last query here is aggregate function. You can see the grades are here and sum of lucky draw. Because of the sum of, that means the aggregate function. So that's 5_6. The first column is grade. The second column is lucky draw. So we choose lucky draw. And then you activate the totals. Now, because this one says sum of, you change this group by to sum. And then you run it. Right. So I think that is the right answer. Yes. Then the last question for 6 marks, which is the report. We must create the report. Take note of the following. The fields that are displayed. So the fields are the grade, surname, name, and number of ticket, and totals raised. Then sorting, grouping, and then the calculations. So to create a report, we use create and then report wizard. So we go to create report wizard, and it should be based on data query. This is the data query. And what do we see here? We see the grade, the surname, name. So grade is first, surname, name, then followed by number of tickets, and then the totals raised. Then you go to next and check it here. This is not columnar. Now you check the grouping, the group according to grade. That's why you see grade 9 and everything there. So the group according to grade, you double click. Sometimes you might check the second grouping. They didn't group again. And then you go to next. Sorting. Let's check whether they sorted. We can see the surnames are sorted. No, they are not. Because V, and W. And then the names also check. C, J, the names are not sorted. Then the number of tickets are also not sorted. But the total raise, look at it. 600 before 7. 90. So the total race is also not sorted. Now I think they sorted according to the surname. D, R come before T, and V, and then W. So it was sorted according to surnames in ascending order. Then we go to next. Now, we see calculations here. Whenever you have calculation that deals with numbers, you can do it in two ways. When we go back here, you see summary option. You could have done that in summary options. And then we see they did the calculation under total raise, which is the average. So we choose average on the total raise. Then we have the details or the summary or the percentage of the total. They don't need any of this. You click OK. Next. And then this one was step. We can choose landscape. Next. The name should be RPT 5_6. That's what the question said. And then you modify it and finish. Now, I want to show you something. The calculation was done, which is AVG. It is here. Now let's run and see the summary of this, and then the record is here. So we can modify that. We don't need that part. This is the calculation, number of average of that, and then this is the field there. We can type. The name is average raised by that one, which will be under the name, and then we stretch it. So this is another way you can, when you are creating, you can use the summary option. Now let's check again. It's there. Now we don't need this part, so we can delete them. We can delete this part. We need only this and that one. So this is another way of dealing with the calculation without going there when you are creating from scratch. So you can see them here. Now these numbers are not showing the total rate. So we need to make sure that they all display. You drag it, and then you can now extend this total rate. There we go. Right. Now check again. The total rate values are under the total rate. So you must move this one from the number of tickets to total raise. Right. And then you shift this one also. So that is another way of doing the forms and calculation. Then the heading should be Learners Fundraising Project. So we change this one to Learners Fundraising Project. Right. So we could have also done this calculation by just using group and sort. It's already grouped in grade. You go to more with no totals. Then we choose totals on total raise. The function name should be average. And then we tick show in group footer. So you see, you get the same answer. Then you can now go and put the label, and then you draw it here. Then you can now type inside. So they are the same. They are the same. So you can use any of the methods to do it whenever you are creating from scratch. But if it is already created for you, you cannot use that earlier method. Right. That brings to an end of the database questions. Tomorrow we're going to look at the last two provinces, and then we continue from Microsoft Word and then HTML, trying to make sure that we solve every single question regarding the Prep 2025. Right, let me check the comment sections. If there are no comments, I'll bring the lesson to an end. Thank you for your precious time. Tomorrow, the same time, we will start with the other last two provinces, and then I'm going to also make sure that I divide the recordings per the province so that it will be easier and shorter for everybody. Thank you for your precious time once again. Good night.